Dude, John, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for coming on. The Leverage. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so it's like, dude, I gotta get John on, like one of the first ones. It's gonna be super cool.
Come on.
So yeah, man, it's great to see you.
Thanks, brother. Honestly, honored to be here. I love the mission. I love what you're doing, and just your heart towards it.
Thank you, man. Awesome. Well, can you tell the listeners about yourself? And I'd love to learn about like let's talk about your story and your journey, and then of course your journey with Christ and everything. I'd love to learn all about it.
Yeah. How far back do you want me to go?
Let's see. Let's go far back. Let's go like 10 years back.
10 years back. Okay, so I'm 27 now. So I would say that would be 17.
Yeah.
And I'll go back even a little bit further because I think this context is actually important. So like I came from broken home in New York. Like everything was pretty status quo up until about 11, 12 years old. My father actually, so I have a younger sister and my mom and then my dad. So my dad actually suffered from a heart attack and was on bed rest. And the way I remember it growing up was like, he just didn't really get back up off the couch, just watch TV all day. And I love my dad. I have such a great relationship with him, but that was my memory of that time, whether that's real or not, right, up for debate. But, and I remember very clearly, like my mom and my dad just having arguments every single weekend. And it was always about money. Like if there's one thing that stood out to me it was about money. And slowly but surely, the food in the fridge started to dwindle. And slowly but surely, the heat in the middle of winter in New York wasn't there. And then the Verizon would go out, like the TV would go out and so on. And so I remember from a very young age being like, what's going on? What's all these arguments and this difficulty? And I remember the one thing it being was money. And so, my parents would have these arguments and the cops would come basically every single weekend, every Saturday and every Sunday. It was a normal thing at that point.
So it was that intense.
Yeah, the police would be there and somebody would call the police on somebody. And I learned, I'd say from a young age how to defend myself, right? Like I put a bat under the bed, and I said, if anybody comes after me, like I'm going to make sure I take care of it. And very early on, I had this mentality of I need to like save my sister and I need to be the hero for my sister and like protect her. And so a lot of it was shielding her from what was happening. And so I bring that context in because we lost everything. Like everything that I knew my childhood was at 11 years old changed. And from that moment on, it started a journey of like trying to figure out how to be a man that what I felt at the time, my father wasn't to me. And the thing that again stood out to me time and time again was money. So we go through, they go through the divorce, we move out, we move into this ranch house, which was beautiful. My mom set it up so nice. And my mom's grinding. And I felt so bad, like even from that age, just felt so bad for what she had to do in order to like provide for her two kids. And my dad wasn't paying child support or anything like that.
And this is when they separated?
Yeah, they separated.
Okay.
They separated.
What age did they separate?
Probably 11, 12 or so. I remember being in like 9th grade and just being, 8th, 9th grade and just being so angry. And being so like, I'm stealing things. I'm bullying kids. I'm a mess, throwing snowballs, throwing eggs, like whatever it was. I was like, I'm going to take my anger out somewhere because I don't know what life is. And then I think, I hit a point of a hurricane came and kind of flooded us out and our family lost everything again. And then it was like, we were homeless, but we were in hotels. Right. So for 2 months, we were in hotels because there was no housing on the market because everything got flooded in New York where I lived. And so we moved into this really cruddy, but we were grateful, apartment, like downstairs apartment. Mold, crickets, spiders, the whole thing. It was like not fun. But I got really depressed and, I skipped school and, became a video game addict. And wanted to be a Call of Duty superstar, for anyone who loved video games, loves video games. And I think, that it was interesting. Like I really became so infatuated with games. I didn't want to live my life anymore. And what I really was I was suicidal. I'd wake up every day and I would just cry, and then I'd play video games all day and I'd skip school. And so I bring that context in, and we can go wherever you want, because what happened is I became so infatuated with business and money. At a certain point, I got fed up, and I said, this will never happen to me and my family or my future family ever again. And the only thing that I knew from that young age, right? Think about your 12-year-old self and like my cognitive abilities at that point. Like I had no reason in my brain, just like, hey, money's the problem. I'm going to fix it, you know, and I need to figure out how to be a man. And so a lot of my life, and we talk about 10 years ago, a lot of my life from those moments to probably about 26, even as a Christian, was going after money more than anything else.
And was there a point where you like put down the games? And it sounds like there was like a specific moment. Was there a specific moment where you were just so like a breaking point?
Yeah, I'm brutally honest to a point of a fault, but like, I started, I picked up weed for the first time, and that gave me a false sense of confidence, which led me to start hitting the gym. And I do remember a vivid moment of looking myself in the mirror in my room and saying like, this will never, ever happen again. And that's when I put down the games. Right. And I went into full work mode, just business. Nice. And, from that early age of 9th grade, like also giving my mom money for electricity and stuff. And, I just became a hustler,
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. So let's talk about the hustle period.
Yeah.
What is that journey? It's kind of a mystery to me. I mean, I think I'm seeing so much of an evolution.
Yeah.
Right. Because were you Christian, let's say after that turning point, were you very Christian then? Or did you have still a lot more to find?
Yeah, so I still had a journey ahead of me, right? So I grew up Catholic. I'm Italian. My whole family's Catholic. They don't really understand me, but yeah. So I grew up Catholic, and broken home. We stopped going to church, and it wasn't really a major priority. As I was going through difficulty, I started going back to the Catholic Church because I'm like, I need something. Like, there's all this pain, all this difficulty. There's like, God, where are you? Type of thing. And then the moment shifted when I moved down to Florida for my 3rd year of college, and I was on my own for the first time and crying in the dorm room, like, I don't want to be here. I have no friends, all the things. And I remember calling out to God and asking him whatever I did at that time. And funny enough, I'm on my phone on Instagram, and I think Reels were a thing at that time too. Nice. And I stumbled across Joel Osteen, and that was like my first exposure to like modern day Christianity. But it started this, like, he spoke to me a lot because I was a business mindset type of guy. And it was like, cool. Like, we want abundance and like, we want joy and all the things. And so, his message just really spoke to my heart, and I think put me down a journey of like really going after Christ.
Yeah. And okay, but was there a moment where you felt that maybe there is no God? Was that ever a moment?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
When was that moment?
I mean, I think I've had several of those moments, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we as believers, we do, Yeah, so like, I think some of the first ones were early on, like, why did we lose our house? God, why did you allow this to happen?
Yeah.
I think I've had relationships that I thought were going to be my spouse that didn't work out. And I'm like, God, what are you doing?
Yeah, I've been there, man.
Yeah. And then I think, the hurricane, and I think just being super lonely at different times, like, God, where are you? Like, why aren't you moving?
Yeah.
And I think what I've learned looking back, and even in the moments of, more recently when I've questioned things, right? I think questioning is sometimes part of it, if we're just being honest.
Yeah.
I look at like some of what God's did. Like I look back, like John 13:7, right? You may not know now, but later you'll understand, right? So if we understand now why the things in the past happened, right? It makes more sense. Like later you'll understand is a scripture.
Yeah.
And so I recognize looking back now, like why the things had to happen and what God did in my heart in those moments of the wrestling, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So going back to the hustle, what happened with that career? I mean, obviously you still have the career, but from what I've known from you, it's like there has been some major shifts, major change. But there definitely sounds like there was this, I almost feel like Wolf of Wall Street meteoric rise.
Yeah.
That were like, what happened there? Talk to me. Like, I want to know about what does that hustle look like? How, what was that adventure?
Yeah, well, so I think my whole life became money, right? So I didn't care for friends. I didn't really have friends other than sports. Like deep relationships, I kind of let them fall by the wayside, right? I was selfish in that way, but I was going after the goal. And I'm the type of person that, like, if I have a goal, like, I'm tunnel vision. It's like, if I want to lose 10 pounds, I'm going after it. And I think that is a good thing in its proper place and its proper order. And so I think I was just out of order for a long time, like I was just going after how can I make as much money as possible. And I stumbled into sales, like getting into cold calling and then getting out into door-to-door stuff and then doing insurance door-to-door for businesses. And the evolution just kept going and I just made more and more money over time. And before I knew it, like I was leading a sales team, like I had my first, like, I think $55,000 a month or whatever it was in sales, like where I took home that.
As a commission?
Yeah. And I was
fucking awesome.
And I was like, this is dope, like I don't have to worry about money for a second. But I still had this scarcity mentality all over me from my childhood. So like what ended up happening was I just kept like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think for the reasons of like, I'm scared to lose it all. I'm scared to go to zero. Right. And so it's almost like what the underlying emotion is more important than like us actually doing the thing. It's heart posture.
Yeah.
Right. So like I could have really went hard at something in the right heart posture. Right. But in that moment, it was coming from fear and scarcity and lack. And those things are not of God. Like if we just learn the scriptures and renew our mind in the scripture, like those things are not of God.
Yeah.
Right. The most common thing is like, do not be afraid, in the most common phrase in the Bible. So, yeah, I just think I toiled in success and I toiled in, trying to be the man and trying to be, like a provider and all the things. And, what I've learned, I went through tons of therapy,
No.
but what I learned in 2024, I had just, I would say, a radical moment with Jesus. What I learned about those moments and really going hard after money and finances and success was to try to fulfill me, right? Was I was doing that all out of a place to be loved. I just wanted to be loved. Like, cause I felt abandonment from my dad. And I felt every time I gave my mom money and every time I provided for somebody, like there was like, oh, John, like you're awesome. Like you're phenomenal. And so it just became like, if I provide and perform and I succeed and I make money, well, then I'm loved. And so what did I do? I took that into my relationships, right? Like I'm in relationships that only partially give me gratification and validation when I provide for them. So it's like, it's all patterns. And what happens is, and I'm going off a little bit, but like what happens is like, we need to have Jesus renew those moments. We need to have him like heal those moments in time, those versions of ourselves that were acting in, like I'm acting in this way now, right? But I couldn't be who I am if the 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 17-year-old wasn't healed and renewed in Jesus.
Wow.
So yeah, hustle culture. It's fun.
It's complicated, man.
Yeah.
It's complicated. So, I mean, what was one of the darkest moments during that time? Because it's so interesting. I mean, I have some too, where you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
but then, and you hit, so for example, was there a goal that you wanted to hit and then you hit it?
Yeah.
And then what, did anything unexpected happen when you hit it?
Yeah. Well, I think it kept increasing,
Yeah.
And it wasn't fun to hit the next one. It was like, all right, like, what are we doing here?
Yes. I remember I was like, because I remember I set a goal one time to hit $100,000 a month, and I like, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah,
was just hit that number, and then I finally hit it 1 month, and then I thought, I for some reason you think like everything in your life is going to change as soon as you hit that number, right? And then I just was like, absolutely fucking nothing changed. Yeah. Like, I am the same exact person. I just have hit that number now. And I remember calling my brother. I was like, excited. And then he was just like, cool. Did you get this done, by the way? And I was like, damn, man, like, what am I doing? What? It's like this endless well. Yeah. It's this endless hole. But what do you think? I mean, is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah. Well, so like, I think, right, we all want to be entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that is what the world teaches us is success, right? Yeah. And then we see the entrepreneurs that show the lifestyle content, like the money, the girls, the boats, the yachts, the flying here, flying there. Yeah. And we see that and we're like, I just want that thing. Like, I felt that way about drop shipping in the early days, right? I was like, drop shipping seems like the way to the lifestyle, right? And I just think we put all these idols out there and we like almost prey on people to want those things more than, right, we want God. And so to answer your question, like, I think my dark moment was when I moved to Austin 2 years ago. One of my dark moments. Sure, I moved to Austin 2 years ago, right? I moved with my ex-girlfriend, right? We moved in together, and I knew better at the time. Like, probably shouldn't like be super intimate. Probably shouldn't move in together. Like, I had a mentor at the time who was like, that is not a good idea. And I'm like, well, I'm going to try it one last time. And so we move in together, and the company took off, right? Like, we're doing $70,000 a month. Like, oh yeah, we were doing well. And like, the previous months in Arizona before I moved were like 20, 30 or so. Yeah. And so like, I moved to Austin and it just took off. So I'm working around the clock. I launched a software company too. So I had a software company that reviewed sales calls and AI would give feedback. Oh, cool. And so there's a couple people doing that now. It's pretty cool. And the technology has changed. And so it's even better than what I built at the time. But I was investing all this money.
That was not even that long ago, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that blows my mind, man. And it's cool that you were a pioneer. Do you still have that?
No. So I actually let it go. And I can get into some of that if you want, but like, yeah, I let it go. I basically said like, all right, I targeted sales reps more than I targeted companies. And just from a business perspective, probably not the best idea. Like, go after the businesses for like sales enablement assets, allowing them to like train their sales reps without more management overhead and more time. Oh yeah. And so like, that's valuable to a company. It wasn't as valuable to sales reps. So
heard that.
I basically had to face like, I built this thing. Okay, it's going to cost another $50,000 probably to like build it out to companies. Shit. And then like, we don't even know if it's going to work. Yeah, I'm making a lot of money in the agency. Let's just scale the agency.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I had a moment of like, my ex-girlfriend and I broke up. She moved out and I'm working around the clock on this software company and on the agency, 5 employees. And wow, I'm just Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call, like no lunch, like I would not really sleep at night, and I, over time, I just like, what is this all for? Like, God, where are you? Type of thing, and that lasted from, September 2023 to like, I would say probably like March of 2024. Wow. Like that period of like isolation, depression, refining, like going after God with every moment I had aside from the business. Yeah. And I didn't really have any friends at that time, or not many. And so, I went on a mission trip to Africa, came back, and I gave it all up. I was like, there's more. There's more to life. There's more in Jesus. And if I actually surrender and submit to him, like, he'll navigate the way. It's not something I need to figure out. Like, I always needed to figure out how to go make money, or figure out how to build my career, or figure out how to build a business. Like, if I actually surrender my life to Christ, like, I'll walk by faith, not by sight, and he's in control, and he knows the end before the beginning, So it's like, I'm just going to follow him. And what does it look like? The next step, shut down the business for a second, let go of the clients, let go of the employees. And I literally walked in the hills of Austin on a trail every single day for hours a day, praying. Like, kind of weird, but I was so touched by, what I experienced in Africa, and I was so hungry for change in my life. It was time to do that.
Well, I mean, dude, that is a radical change.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so fast. What, a lot of people wouldn't have done that. What made you do that specifically? Like, of just, maybe some people would have restructured some things or whatever, but like, you went like, boom. Like, what made you decide to do that?
Yeah. Well, I think naturally I'm pretty 0 to 100 real quick. Right. So like,
That's cool.
Like one of my weaknesses is like, I have difficulty with balance. Right. So like, again, like, focus on something, go after it. Right. And I'm learning even now, like, some of my wrestle with the Lord is like, how do I balance certain things? I think my experience in Africa, just loving on people and serving them and leading them to the Lord and like doing ministry, like, it just changed my heart. And the only thing that I really wanted to do, like, I didn't care to make money. Like, I had tons of savings. I just didn't care to make money. I said, I just want to see people meet Jesus. And so I literally like took everything I learned from Africa and was taught, like, first time doing ministry, then went out in the streets of Austin, and like, you could find me praying over the homeless on a random Tuesday at 2:00,
It's amazing.
And that expanded and expanded and expanded. And so I would pray in the woods, and, then I would go do ministry. And my heart kind of became, throughout the process of like walking in the woods, was like, I just want to see people, like entrepreneurs specifically, that are going so hard after it, like, go after God as much as they go after business.
I love that.
And so then that was the start of the Jesus in Business podcast, was like, how do I reach entrepreneurs? How do I reach the hearts that, you're not going to find them out in the street. They're not going to want to have a conversation about Jesus in the middle of their workday. Yeah. So it's like, content was the engine to really reach them, while simultaneously I learned how to unwire certain things, like certain like strategies good, but like, I was so strategic. And I think at different points, like, I was manipulative, right, in business, to get the outcomes and the things that I wanted. And I just had to like rework all the things, right? That's like the sanctification process, is like, how can we become more like Jesus? And that to me was like taking time off and like focusing on loving people and doing ministry, while simultaneously like running this podcast and learning and reaching, the army of entrepreneurs that he wants to change their hearts.
It's beautiful. So, but okay, one question I want to ask you is like, how do we balance? Because like, I want to ask a separate question about like a prosperity gospel. Yeah, because that is such a hot topic.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely want to get your take on it.
Yeah.
But how do you balance? What is that verse? Hopefully you can help me, or I can find it, where there's like a wealthy man.
Yeah.
And a wealthy man that does not want to give up. Mm-hmm. His or he's basically followed everything else, and Jesus is like, you follow the commandments and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you really want to follow me, then you'll get rid of that too.
Yeah.
And he was, and I think the line's like, and he was depressed.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, yeah, man, I feel that. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that verse mean to you? I feel like I'm starting to understand the answer now, but what is that to you?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing, just for context, right? Like, I'm constantly learning this stuff too, right? And I'm by no means a Bible scholar or anything like that, but I think as I work through it with you, right? My first initial thoughts are like money and business and the possessions that money gives us being an idol. and being the thing that matters more than following God. And right, like if you were that rich, wealthy man that turned your back on Jesus to keep his possessions, and if you actually knew it was Jesus, right? If you were us reading the stories here today, right, you probably would have gave it up and followed him, right? If you really knew who he was. And I think, again, just processing out loud here is like, I think there's tons of entrepreneurs that like choose money over God and choose possessions over God. And I think it leads us down a path of, the word I want to use is corruption. Like our life begins to ooze from the inside out. And it might not look like finances, or it might not look like possessions, losing possessions, but it might look like the way you treat your kids. Or it might look like the way you treat your employees and what they really think about you behind their back. Yeah. Right. And so like people recognize and they know when like you're choosing yourself, or you're choosing money, or you're choosing, riches or items over family or over employees. And I think what we really need to do is we really need to shift our mindset from this mentality that the world has, which is a hedonistic mindset, which is like, it's about me, right? Like even in dating, right? It's like, it's about me. It's about you making me better, or it's about how you contribute to my life, right? Or how I build a business, right? And look at me, glorify me. Yeah. That's what the world is putting out there constantly, and people eat it up. But what is it really to walk with Christ? Like, what did the rich man do by turning away? He wasn't willing to give up himself. He wasn't willing to die on the cross as Jesus did. And so it's like, my perspective is like, we need to become servants of each other. Like, this is not about my agenda, right? This is not about your agenda. Right? It's not about somebody's agenda. It's like, how can I serve you? Right? And how can I really serve you? Because my heart is to serve you. And having a business, you're serving clients, right? And by serving clients really well, your business grows. And by serving your clients really well, you're eventually going to have employees, and your employees will serve you and your clients really well. And so I just think we make it so complicated. Yeah. We make it so complicated. We want the next strategy or the next thing to get to 50 or 100K a month or $1 million a year or whatever it might be. And there's tons of people preaching almost like manipulation, and what I would even consider potentially as witchcraft, right? It's like, we need to serve more than anything else. Forget what the business looks like. And it's cool to say, hey, I have $100,000 a month business. And, at times I got glory out of that. Like, hey, look at my revenue. Like, I have this many employees. Like, I'm crushing. Like, that was the mindset. And I walked into every room like I'm the man. And guess what? Even if I had it all, I really had nothing. And I think that's what that scripture says. Even if I have it all, I really have nothing. It goes back to him. He is the thing that matters. He is the only thing that matters. So that's just me processing out loud.
I love it. I love it, dude. I appreciate that so much, because, there's so many things I want to say about one. So I went to acquisition.com. And I met Alex, super briefly. It's not like he was like, it was like super fast, but he was in the room a lot, which I was kind of shocked. I was like, 5,000. I'm like hanging out with Alex and Layla. This is sick. But it wasn't really hanging. I mean, they were just like lecturing and whatnot, but it was nice to be around them. But it was weird, man, because I was like, and one, they did an amazing job. Alex is obviously a genius. Layla is obviously another genius, Totally. They're amazing people. But I met him and I felt like this energy, and I was like, he just doesn't seem happy. Yeah. And it's not about being happy, though. It's like there's like, it's not about being happy. It's like there just wasn't this piece that he's missing, that I felt like if he had Christ, he would be able to have that. but I'm not judging him.
Yeah.
Because he's incredible.
Yeah.
As a person, and he's helped 10 times as many people as I have. But I just felt that I was like, you know what? I don't want that. Like, I don't want what he has. I mean, I just don't think the grass is always greener.
For sure.
And there was a time when I thought there was, for sure. Like, there was a time where I was like, I really want to be a billionaire. I want to be like, I want like, all of this power, God really humbled me on that instance. I remember, and it's kind of it's fucked up. I'm just gonna tell you, that when I was at dinner, and I knew it was wrong, and I've had moments of these, right? I was having dinner with me, my brother, and my friend Charles, and it's when we were making a decent amount, right, a month, and I was feeling pretty good about myself and all that shit. And it's like, it's weird. You can walk in a room and be like, I know I'm making more than like 99%.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I just know, and so I have like this, like this, whatever, chip on my shoulder. And this waiter hit my brother and on the back. Like, it was accidental, but he was like, moving fast. He was kind of, being, clumsy, and he hit the back of it. And then I remember saying under my breath, I was like, fucking peasant, And then I said it loud enough so my brother and Charles could hear. And I did it in a boastful way. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's like I heard a voice saying like, you're going to regret saying that. And I definitely do, at least I forgive myself now. Yeah. Because you have to forgive yourself. But, we've had after that, not just after that, but it's been an insane journey, like of up and down after that. Yeah. And I've told you a little bit about it, I think. Yeah. But I praise God for it, because it's like I lost everything, I got a lot, and then I'm losing everything again, and now I'm getting it back. But I remember that was I saw that verse, and that verse always haunted me. Yeah. I was like, what does that mean? And I feel like God is like, I will show you what that means. Yeah. I don't know what.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the first thing I want to say is just I admire you for the vulnerability to even say that. And like, I've had tons of those moments that I've, I regret, right? And I think as the Lord really transforms our hearts, right, it transforms our heart for other people. And I sat with that verse and I wrestled with it too. And I think that's, a big, reason why in 2024, in April 2024, like, that's why at that time I walked away from the business. Right. And I think too, like, I really think that it is humility that elevates us in a way, right? Like, recognizing that we're not in control, right? Do we have free will? Do we have to steward what we have? Yes, 1000%. Like, you have a business, you have clients, you have things, but at the end of the day, like, God's going to do what he does, right? And I think that we can align ourselves with his heart. And sometimes I think that the ups and downs of life could even be potentially avoided as we continue to align ourselves with his heart.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Dude, I was going to say, was there a moment, because like there's been moments where I almost tested it out one time. Yeah. Which is kind of fucked up. But I was like, okay. It was like a client when, this is, I'll just be real vulnerable, but a client basically, because there was, it was a moment where I was really aggressive and I was like, oh, I want to like, yeah. But there was a moment where I kind of got some bad feedback from a client. And, well, actually it wasn't bad feedback. What would happen is, like, we had already finished a campaign, but we were kind of like, there was still some, the end of a contract that wasn't fulfilled. Yeah. And in terms of money. And I was like, okay, well, you got to pay that. And then they were like, well, give me this first. I was like, no, it's like that's not what it says in the contract. In the contract. Yeah. It's in the contract. And I remember it vividly, where it was like, okay, Christ-like would be like, you know what? Just give her the thing. You know what I mean? Just give it to her. And, even if you don't get the money, whatever, who cares? like you should be more giving and more loving. And that's, and then I was like, or you can just be a real hard ass and just be like, no, give me that or else you don't get anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I actually went the contractual route.
Yeah.
Even though I knew, in my heart, I was like, why don't you just give it to her? It's like not even that big of a deal. It's not even that much money. You know what I mean? And a big part of me was about to do that. But then, and I think I was about to do it. I was actually about to give it to her.
Yeah.
But then her lawyer called me. And then I was like, oh, you know what? All right. I see what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? Now I'm going to put the gloves on, which is, I think Christ was just testing me, was like even when the wolves are there, even when the lions are there, you need to trust me. Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't. And that resulted in a terrible fight.
Yeah.
Luckily it was all good and settled, but it was so heart-wrenching for so little.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, I should have 100% listened to him. That was a complete waste of time, and it was definitely not worth that.
Yeah.
I should have just not done that. But I don't know. Has anything like that happened to you before?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had some interesting moments contractually. I've had some moments where I've, kind of been like, hey, this is what it says. Like, let's do this. And then I've had moments where I've rolled over, and, like I hear your story and what you just said. And like what I feel in my heart is just like, I think sometimes, and I've wrestled with this too, like I've really wrestled with this, but I think sometimes as Christians, we roll over too easy. Like we are called to take dominion over the earth. Right. And I think, I think we want to do what, to your point, like we want to do what is Christ-like and what is most Christ-like. And I think there's standards to uphold.
Sure.
Right. Like, okay, so like to me, and this is some of what I've been wrestling with / learning is just, and what I feel like God's revealing to me right now is just like, how do you operate in excellence? Okay. You have a contract. That's excellent, right? Sign the contract. That's excellent. Due dates are clear. Excellent. Can you learn something from maybe the process of like, how do I set expectations, or like, was it super clear? Right. I always think like taking accountability is really good. Sure. Accountability and ownership. Yeah. And like, if someone doesn't want to pay something or they want something first, right? I think my heart is like, how can I hold the standard with excellence while loving them at the same time? Like just off the cuff, like that to me is like what Jesus would do. Right. And I think like what I would probably do is like have a call or have a meeting, whatever it is. And I'd be like, hey, Susie, like this is about to be a really hard conversation that I really don't want to have, but like, I think we need to have it. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. Well, this is what the contract says. I know you kind of want this. I want to supply it to you because my job here is to serve you, right? What are some options you feel like we can do to fix this? And then have them list out all the options, right? Like option. Okay, now out of all those options, what do you feel like is the best one for you, and also like honors me really well, so we can continue to work together and flourish, And so I think and I've had this, when the fear and anxiety comes, when we feel like we are in a place of like, this was clear, but it's not, and like, somehow there's some sort of debacle or disagreement. Like to me, the way the way I maybe just scripted it is like, that's loving while holding the standard at the same time. And I think as Christians, we need to do a better job of that. Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
The communication should have been 10 times better.
Yeah.
And that's what I think God is also teaching me. No, and I just love that. And I love the options. Like, give me the options, and that would also honor me.
Yeah. Because then you're leading, right? Yeah. And like what you're leading is you're leading for success. Like success meaning you want to do great work, right? Because your heart's in the right place, and / them get what they paid or they wanted and paid for. Yeah. And like I think what I would do is I would just pray into it beforehand to make sure I had the right heart posture and I didn't have any resentment or anger or fear, right? And so I think and I use that as an example. I hope you don't mind I did that, but like, I think that is some of the stuff that as kingdom entrepreneurs, right, we have the ability to do that other people are not even aware of because they're just not aware spiritually, or they're focused on themselves, or they're focused on how they look or whatever it is. It's like, no, like we can recognize and go back and pray and check if there's any resentment, check if there's any bitterness, anger, fear, whatever, and like totally change the trajectory of like what the outcome is based off of going to God.
I love that. I love that, man. Let's pause for a second.
Pause.
I'm going to check.
Pause. Pause. I said pause.
Dude, we are diving in. I love that.
Oh, wherever you want to go.
I love it.
Wherever you want to go.
Okay, so, well, and don't let me forget. I also want to kind of go deep in Scripture as well.
Okay.
I wanted to, well, because you've also gone through just like another kind of journey with a few things. Because I hope you don't mind if I kind of
open book.
Okay, cool. And also even, push a little on some things, because I've, in terms of denomination, because I've gone through this journey. I grew up Catholic as well.
Yeah.
But I'm actually leaning more towards Orthodoxy right now. And I've been going to, and it's so weird because they're so similar in terms of Mass.
Yeah.
But I have been just searching, and I really feel like Orthodoxy, because I've been to, like, dude, I'm going all over the place. I'm sorry,
It's okay.
But I just want to lay it all out so I don't forget it. Like mega churches, I kind of have a thing about mega churches. Like, it just doesn't feel right, and it's like I have so many things about mega churches that I just don't really care for anymore, or even non-denominational. I feel like it's missing so much of the Scripture, correct tradition, and all that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like people are there more to be entertained, and not to actually hear the Lord, and be in the Scripture, But that's a lot I just threw at you. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the first thing, like, naturally that comes out of my heart is like, you're operating with a humble heart and you're hungry, right? That matters more to God than anything else, right? So like, you're asking questions, and I think a lot of people don't even get to the point where they're asking those questions because they're not hungry enough.
Yeah.
Now I think a few things, right? I think the first thing is like, I am not like a denominational scholar by any means. And I'm also I'm also at this point too, like in my walk, is like, I don't judge or like say, hey, this way is better because of this, and this reason, or like that way is better than this or whatever. I've come to the place of like in my heart of just like, because I used to be judged like, no, like it's only this way. And I think now it's like, no, like everybody's just doing the best they can, and they are working and they're walking with God in their own way. And that leads people naturally, potentially in different directions. Caveat is like, I am working through and believing some of that. A lot of the church is a business, right? So like just the 501c3, just like a nonprofit that a church operates in, right? They don't have to disclose finances. They don't file tax returns, right? So there are people that have abused the system, right? Which leads to mega churches stink, right? I believe that every church does something good, right? Like a lot of people have a lot of criticism towards Joel Osteen, right? So I say that's part of my journey. And like some people are like, that's weird. Like we don't like him. But like the reality is like he brought me closer to Jesus, right? And I would not be sitting here today having this conversation if that wasn't the case. I think another thing that I'm learning from, I think it's always important to have mentors and people that are discipling you and people that you're discipling, right? So it's like you're getting poured into and you're pouring out. So it's like it's a river, right?
I love that.
Versus a lake. Lakes like, Lake Austin or Lake Travis sometimes could be really disgusting in certain areas because residue builds up and like mold and moss and all that sort of stuff because the water is not moving. But rivers that move, streams that move, they're clean water. It's the cleanest water.
Well, I love that, dude.
And so we need to be receiving and we need to be giving. And I think sometimes a lot of people are receiving from the church, which is fine at a certain place in our spiritual maturity. And then we need to figure out how to submit and ask someone else to come into our life to teach us, somebody that we want to be like, right? Somebody that maybe knows or has walked a little bit further, and age doesn't matter, right? So like recently a couple came into my life and they're probably in their early 40s. They are amazing, right? Like they're both really financially successful. They both love the Lord. They've been walking this path. They've done mission trips, etc.
Wow.
And they did something simple, which was just invite me over to dinner. And I'm sitting at the table on my side and they're both on that side and they just wanted to get to know me. And what God did in that conversation was sometimes far more than what I can experience in a church service. And so like, I think we sometimes have a misconception, like the church is people. It's not a building. And I think sometimes the business of the church is what actually prohibits people from really following and understanding who Christ is at a deeper level, right? Because we get used to like the 2 worship songs and then the message and then like tithe and then goodbye, right? Or maybe come to a men's group or maybe like get involved in this thing. And I don't think that's bad, right? I think like business, I think there's different people at different levels. There's different people experiencing different things. There's different people in different areas of their walk of maturity. And so it's like certain churches appeal to somebody that's newer and certain churches appeal to somebody that's older, right? Or deeper in the faith. And I don't think any of it's bad, right? I think it's actually all good. And I think denominations, Orthodox, etc., like even Catholic, I don't think that's bad, right? Is that part of my journey? No. Maybe eventually, but like, I like my choice is like, I'm going to walk with him and it's about relationship. And so as long as we are filled with the Holy Spirit and we have a relationship with Jesus, like Jesus sitting right here, I could talk to him and he is speaking back, right? I think that is, and again, I'm no Bible scholar. I'm not none of that. I don't want to give all the disclaimers because it's true, but like, I think that's most important than where we choose to go or, experience.
So I'll push back on that a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Because I think it's interesting. But I think that is so beautiful from the heart. And I feel that way at times. But I think there are some moments. So for example, like Mormonism, right? I feel like that's wrong, but like also some sects of Protestantism, because sometimes some sects of Protestantism are very much, or they don't believe in, they don't believe in the logical resurrection of Christ. They just believe in the symbolic representation of it.
Yeah.
Whereas that's like if you don't actually believe that Christ actually rose from the dead, and I struggle with that still. But I at least know that, look, that's a linchpin. You kind of have to believe in it, like actually from a scientific and logical standpoint, that it happened, because that's part of the like ethos of Christ.
Yeah.
So, that's where I'm like, I would kind of throw the ball back to you. Like, do you feel like maybe we should kind of battle for that in terms of knowledge, in terms of wisdom and conversation? What do you think?
Well, I think the Bible is truth, right? So like anything I think that contradicts the Bible, like I'm naturally not going to like agree with. yeah, again, like I don't know denominations like as much as others. Like I think, when I went really hard after God, right, in April 2024 after this mission trip, right, like really hard after God.
Yeah.
Like I think some of the temptation for me was like at the time was like, oh, like go down this route or explore more of like evil or like learn more about this. And I just had some people that were discipling me, and they were just like, focus on the gospel and focus on who Jesus is. And you can always get to that stuff. And so like I've naturally not went the route of like learning more about denominations and stuff like that. I've more of just accepted where I've experienced Jesus the most.
Sure.
And how he's encountered me. Like I had this discussion recently, actually. Like just as an example, like I grew up Catholic, right? But I would never go back to like really the Catholic Church. Maybe once, but like I wouldn't practice. I wouldn't get married in a Catholic church, right? So to me, like those are non-negotiables just because of the way Jesus touched me outside of that, right? In non-denominational settings or charismatic settings and mission trips. So, again, I don't know a lot about the different denominations or thoughts behind it.
I don't know a ton, but I have been doing more and more research.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I definitely feel that position when you're like, we got to let it be, let some things be. And it's a bit more laissez-faire in terms of that, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
But then there is that piece of me that's torn with, but that is obviously like not a part of the Bible that they have construed.
Yeah.
Into their own, especially Mormonism. I mean, Mormonism is crazy. But, or even Islam. It's like, that's the other thing. And I know it's kind of a touchy subject, but it's the truth. They don't believe Christ was resurrected, and they don't believe it's like, well, that's not, no, like that's, he definitely did. You know what I mean? He definitely did as much as one man can have faith. And it's like that. I'm still after that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I have to figure out how I can be 100% believed in it, in that.
I think my thoughts are like, I think I gave up like the need to fully understand and said, okay, like whatever, if something contradicts the Bible, like it's not for me. Right. But like the Bible that I know, the way I've encountered Jesus, the scripture that has renewed my mind, my spirit, right, has changed my life, changed the way I operate, changed the way I think about things, changed the way I love people. Like that's the pocket that I'm just naturally going to stay in. So that's kind of where I've gone, just gone really deep in like Bible's truth. Anything contradicts it, like not my thing.
And what do you think about the prosperity gospel?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I've worked through prosperity gospel stuff at recently actually. And I think we have two very alternative opinions. We like to put things on spectrums, like, you're either Democrat or you're Republican, like you're either prosperity gospel or your poverty gospel. And I think I've experienced a little bit of both. I believe based off, right, I go back to scriptures, right? Again, I'm not a Bible scholar by any means, but like a lot of the men that were following God in the Bible and really, really going after them, they were prosperous, right? Do I think that the more you give, the more money you make, right? The more God blesses you? I think that's dangerous. Or like the more you proclaim the gospel, right? Like the more money you're going to make, the more favor you're going to have. I think that's dangerous, right? So I think it's like, for me, it's like freely we have been given, freely have received, freely give, right? So like, it's almost like this detachment to where like there's no expectation. I think prosperity gospel, from what I understand, is like, it's about an expectation, something attached to something. I think we need to teach as much as possible. Again, no Bible scholar, but I think we need to teach as much as possible who Jesus is, right? And what Jesus came to do, right? That he was the Son of God, died, resurrected, right? And bore the cross for the forgiveness of our sins, right? I really, we just have to go deeper in that, you know?
What do you say to people when they say, I'm sure, or what do you say to people when they say like, and has anyone ever been like, oh, you really believe like he rose from the dead, like a zombie? You know, what do you say to those people?
You know, I think from my background in sales, right? Naturally, I loved arguing and objection handling and all that sort of stuff. I think my heart now is like, I don't believe what you want to believe. Like, Lord, like my prayer, right? So like, I've done a bit of ministry now to where I've had a lot of interesting conversations, right? Whether it was in Austin, Africa, whatever. And I just believe like we're there, you know, if I'm having that conversation with somebody, I'm not there to like argue, or I'm not there to, you know, battle on theology. That's not my gift, right? By no means. There's people that do that really well, not mine. You know, I think my perspective is like, if their heart is in a place to even be open, right, to a deeper conversation or who Jesus is, right, then you're picking the fruit that God has already worked on, right? And so, yeah, like, you know, my prayer for somebody like that is like, Lord, reveal yourself to them, you know, and I'll ask them if I could pray that over them. And I have at different times. And sometimes I've walked away and prayed it, you know, but my skills or lack thereof skills, like I don't have a theology battle.
No, I just wanted to hear your, because it's like I've gotten that before, and I've even felt that way before, you know, when I was more agnostic, you know.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not how I feel now. It's completely opposite. And I believe like through really cool things like A Case for Christ. I don't know if you've Lee Strobel. That's an amazing book. I mean, he breaks it down like almost scientifically.
Yeah.
How there's more evidence scientifically for Christ rising from the dead than most people could ever even believe.
Yeah.
Which is super sick.
Yeah. So interesting.
It's so awesome. And I was like, dude, he's like, there's like more evidence that Christ did that than there is of like Socrates existing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 10 times more evidence.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's dope, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
That's awesome.
Totally.
So kind of like switching gears a little bit. I'd love to like talk about the business side, like, because this is partially a business podcast.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's also a business podcast, but can you break down like your sales methodology for us, and like, you know, really, I'd love to kind of just lay that out there, you know, just so people can learn.
Yeah, totally. Well, so I think the first thing, right? So I've been doing sales for probably 11, 12 years, between cold calling, door to door, and like insurance, alarm sales, all sorts of different things. And then, you know, actually closed on a high ticket offer and a real estate high ticket offer, and then became a manager, and then consulted over 100 brands, right? Training their sales teams, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Damn.
So my methodology more or less is the sales calls that I've taken and the sales calls that I've listened to, right? So it's like whatever amount of calls I did, like it comes from that. And I think after learning all of the different tactics, after learning all the different objection handling, after learning all the different frameworks, I think the thing that I deeply realized is like, it's so much simpler than we make it to be, right? Like they're not leads, they're people.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think we like, I used to get really excited after like closing X amount of deals or X amount of revenue and all that sort of stuff. Great. Yeah. Awesome. Celebrate. And that's not the end, right? Like that customer has a journey to achieve the thing or get the product, get the service that they've now purchased. And I think in sales, I gamified, right? And so we can dive into like specific things like frameworks, whatever, but like my heart more or less is like those companies and those salespeople that actually serve and love their customer more than they love the money that comes out of the commission or comes out of the deal, right? Those are the ones that win long term. I've been around long enough to see companies do well and then like things change in the landscape. And because they didn't have salespeople that really cared or a CEO that really cared, that company went out of business.
Wow.
Right? And so I've seen that. And then I've seen those over time that maybe had a slower onset of success. Maybe it took a little bit longer. Like they won long term, even in down markets, because they really cared about their customer. And so like to me, sales is just serving. Like it's servanthood. Like how can I get on the phone? And even before the call, like Lord, give me the ability to serve this person at the highest capacity, even if it's not purchasing the product. Like, how can I be so detached and really be so detached, not just a tactic that like, if this person isn't a good fit for what I do, like I'm going to tell them go somewhere else. Right. And I'm going to leave them better than I found them. But I think in the sake of hitting quotas and hitting revenue numbers, like we put so much pressure on the outcome and on the goal and on the performance of it all. And sales is a performance, right? Not going to deny that, right? Just like, playing soccer or baseball in the major leagues is a performance.
Yeah.
Right? You got to perform to a certain degree, but we can't get attached to the performance more than we attach to the heart behind what we're doing.
It's beautiful. I think that's going to be hard for some people to hear and really understand it at a deep level, especially younger salespeople.
Yeah.
I see that a lot of like just aggressive, like I'm just gonna get it. And I'm like, dude, I've been there. I know what it is.
Yeah.
It's fine. You can do that. You'll find there's nothing at the end of that. But, and also there's nothing inherently wrong with money. No. It's just that
it's a tool.
It's just a tool.
Yeah. It's a tool.
We did that. Like that's when the business shifted into bad polarity. Because we got so fixated on that.
Right.
And I kind of knew it, but I was like, but I'm still trying to help, But there was a big difference of what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Like I needed to humble myself. And because I remember there was a point where like I could have gone to my client's like place and just sat down with him. And it's totally unscalable, but that's not the fucking point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the point is you got to help your people. You know what I mean? And I didn't do that. I was like, no, I'm trying to scale.
Yeah.
Like, so that's like not scalable.
Right.
So I'm not going to do it.
Right. Well, because and I did the same thing. Like I want to scale, right? Because we're sold an idea that scaling means we are doing better.
Yeah.
Right. So even scaling, the concept of scaling by itself, like that doesn't mean higher profit margins. Like I had more revenue and lower profit margins by scaling. Like I made way less money by scaling.
Dude, that's so true, man.
Right? So it's like we get attached to the wrong things almost.
Yeah, that's so wild. Yes, I was netting so much more when I wasn't trying to scale.
Right.
Well, I mean, you get to a certain scaling amount that you're aware of, but once you get really outside into the deep end,
and
you don't know what you're doing, it's going to eat up the margins, and you're going to be
totally.
Because it's like, what's the point of making $100,000 a month if you lose 105?
Right. But we want to post the $100,000 a month on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm like, I almost want to comment like, how much did you net?
It's so true. Yeah. And I think too, like again, my methodologies have changed and adapted over time. Like I was a consultant. I came into companies that were $200,000, $300,000 a month in the coaching space. Oh, wow. And I said, cool, we're going to $1 million a month. And I knew the process on how to take them there, from a sales organization, from a systems to a people. Like I knew what we needed. Like I can just see it. It was weird.
Wow.
And I did it before, so that's how I knew how to do it. Anyway, my point is I think we waste so much time, like how do we hit this goal? And like, oh, how does this email campaign like get us more customers? I think we think about the wrong things, right? I think the thing we need to think about is like, how do we serve our customers better? Like, and how do we spend time with our customers? Like in the online world, like it's rare to have real relationships. Right. I've been to those conferences where it's like everybody's just trying to like get something, like, or they're like kind of surface level. Like, real relationships are the currency of the kingdom.
Oh, I love that.
And so if we really are kingdom entrepreneurs,
Beautiful.
we need to go build relationships with our customers. Because guess what? Like, even if somebody hires you guys, right? They're not a believer, right? You decide, hey, I'm going to go meet this person. Like, and I'm just going to love on them. And they notice that something's different about you. Like, that's the ability to show the light of Christ in a business relationship. And here's what I'll say too. And I've learned this, like, by doing those sorts of things with no agenda whatsoever, I've actually gotten more information about my ideal customers than anything else, right? Than any strategy or brainstorming session or figure this out or do this thing. Right? Just by connecting to our customers. And I've actually gotten more referrals by loving on people and helping them see Christ in their life and helping them build in that way, right? Discipling them. I've got more referrals by doing that than actually teaching sales.
Wow.
And I'm not trying to do that. That's not my goal. But sometimes it's just naturally the outcome. And so, like, how do we go back to serving and loving our customers and putting them first versus like the systems and metrics in order to hit certain outcomes?
Yeah. Dude, that hits so hard because, like, we have less clients now, some on purpose and some not on purpose, to be real. And it's because we were just so overwhelmed. And now we're building back up, and I am so proud of who we have now. And I'm so way more, like, I remember, and it's like you could look at it as embarrassing, but I'm like, it's totally not now the way I think about it, because it's like in the past I would have had like a contractor or an employee go and take care of all of it. But then I was like, no, like, one, we need the margin, and two, I need to be the one to go. Like, I'm going to stop trying to be this whatever it is, and I'm gonna go and just sit knee to knee with my clients. I hadn't even met him. Like, he's been like paying me for like a year. I never even met him. He lives in town. It's a local business. And I was like, that's stupid. I just need to like go. And so I went and I just took all this material just because I wanted to. He didn't pay me. He was already paying me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and so I went and I really met everyone in the studio. I like shook hands with everybody. And I sat down knee to knee. I talked with them about the business. And yes, it's unscalable, but I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean?
So,
and then within 48 hours, it started converting. Like the leads started converting. Right, within after launch, and that's like the fastest conversion I've ever had. It's like literally where we launch the ads for them and then they convert. And him and I were like, and now I'm also like, I'm on my client's ass. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? Like texting them, calling them, texting them. And in the past, we had so many that they were like, weeks would go by without, and then they would text me. And then it was already so late. And then so it just became this terrible monster where now I flipped the script. I'm on their ass and they're like, okay, you need to just chill. Like, but I'm like, I want results for you. Like, I'm going to get results, like every single client of mine. I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to, like, you are going to get great results. And it's just changed, everything, and it's still changing, and it's in the best way, and I love that. And I also love seeing people happy. I love seeing people excited, and I'm like, that's what this is about. You know what I mean? And it's helping them in their lives. So anyways, I'm going on a big tangent.
It's good. No, I think that's an awesome shift that, like, God's working on your heart in, and like you're seeing the fruit be different, right? You're seeing the outcomes be different than maybe they would have been.
Yes. Yeah. Cause like and we even had to like get rid of some stuff and sacrifice things.
Totally.
Where we were like, Because I mean, obviously, we have so much freaking equipment and all this stuff. We have all the equipment, but like in reality, most small business owners do not need all that equipment.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like a sad part with Brand and I. We were like, for most of these people, they don't need like a fucking a Blackmagic 12K camera at their place. Honestly,
they don't know how to use it.
Well, they don't know how to use it.
If you're me, they don't know how to use it.
Well, they don't know. Well, exactly. And also, like, we can do most things from our phone now.
Yeah.
I mean, the phone is actually an amazing camera.
Yeah.
And which kind of blows my mind. And it made my brother super sad. And I was like, I know, man, but look, we got to, like, serve our customers.
Yeah.
What's best for them?
Yeah. Totally.
So...
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how it's all shifting. Like in the world where AI is like instant gratification with captions, with content, with anything. Like I just believe the art of storytelling and relationships is like going to come back. Like the way it was before the internet was really the thing.
Yeah.
Way before I was born. But it's almost like people just want the authenticity and they want the realness. And I think even customers, they're going to change their behavior habits because it's like they know what's AI and they know what's not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like people are smarter than people think.
Totally. No, I bring that up because I saw your post the other day of like, AI is replacing me after buying all this equipment and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, I think at the end of the day, people want the story.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
This kind of just popped up in my mind. What are you? How are you with you and your family? Like, what is that relationship like right now?
Yeah. I think I had a lot of, work and forgiveness like towards my dad, and him and I have a great relationship now, which is awesome. My mom and I have always been super uber close. And that has changed over the, but she's like, what's cool is like, she's starting to have some dreams and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like she's having like prophetic dreams. And I'm like, yeah, like that kind of could mean this and this and so on. So
interesting.
I'm kind of helping her walk through that. I'm like, now you're in my domain, what I've been studying over the last year and a half. My sister, love her to death. Like, yeah, she's figuring it out as she goes. But, I think at different times, like, like my family doesn't really understand certain things, like how you give up a business or why you do ministry or like why you go to Africa and like it's dangerous and all that sort of stuff. And like, I respect it, I honor it. And like, I'm not following them. I'm following the Lord. Right. So like wherever he's leading, that's where I'm going. Beautiful. So, I think my relationships with my family are awesome. I think we're naturally just at a distance because they're in the Northeast and I'm here. Which, and I've been out of the house for a long time, like moving different cities and states and all sorts of things. Like I'm the child that has, really spread their wings. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Do you believe in, well, what do you think of angels and demons? Like, I'd love to ask people about the supernatural elements, because it's the coolest shit in the Bible. But but like, what are your thoughts? Do you believe? What do you believe with angels and demons?
Yeah. I mean, I believe in both. I can't say I've personally seen with my eyes angels, right? But I've definitely seen demons. And yeah, like, I don't know how familiar you are with this stuff, but like I've gotten trained in what's considered deliverance, which is like the casting out of demons.
Wow.
And I've administered that several different times.
Really?
Yeah. And, you see things that, in April of 2024, when I went to Africa, like I saw things that I couldn't unsee.
Really?
Yeah. That were
demons?
Yeah. And
like what?
People people what would be considered like manifesting, which means like they lose control of their body. And, I think at the end of the day, it's beautiful, right? Like we have the ability to show them Christ and have the ability to, retake ground for Jesus where the enemy has had a stronghold and has taken ground in somebody's heart and somebody's body and soul and spirit. And so, yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen some wild things, but it's also what has set me so on fire, right? For God. And like the things in the book of Acts, they're real, right? Like, Jesus casted out demons and healed the sick. And / after Jesus resurrected, then the disciples did that. And so it's like the Holy Spirit came down in the upper room, right? And the Holy Spirit administers the power of Jesus Christ. And so those things that happened in the book of Acts that the disciples did, some of the disciples never met Jesus in the flesh, right? Like Paul never met Jesus in the flesh. He met him through a dream, through a vision, right? That blinded him, right? But he was administering miracles, what would say, right? Casting out demons and healing the sick and, who knows everything that he did. But yeah, that stuff still happens today.
Oh my gosh, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, okay, like take me back, take me to Africa, dude. Like what happened? Can you describe a moment where that happened? Tell me like the story.
Yeah, this is fun. So I was actually telling a buddy this today, who wasn't familiar with, longtime friend, wasn't familiar with any of this stuff, and he asked me about it. And so we're talking on the phone today, and I took him back to like the first moment that I saw like a demon be cast out. We were at a church service in Africa, and this like it just happened. There was so many people, and there was so many people praying for people. Like I was praying for people, and then before I knew it, like this woman's on the ground, and what would be considered like manifesting or convulsing, like lost control of her body. And like me as somebody that was new to all of that, right? Like that's shocking.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was like, what's happening over there? And I was scared and I was nervous and I was afraid and I was, all the emotions. Right. And I went up to somebody I knew that was on our team and I said, what is happening over there? Did she like faint? Like what happened? And like, oh, you've never seen this before? Like, why don't you go watch? I'm like, go watch. So there's actually a picture of me taking a knee as two people from our team were ministering right to this person. And I'm taking a knee and the picture is me with my mouth like wide open. And yeah, I watched as they declared Jesus over this person. And as they did over time, eventually she stopped, she gained control of her body. And she vomited and then, you saw her after she got up. She was down for a little while, but after she got up, she was a different person. And so, Ephesians 6:12 is we do not fight against flesh and blood, but against rulers, powers, and principalities of this world, right? So that's what we're talking about here. And there's stuff that's so much deeper, than we know and we understand. And, deliverance is beautiful. It looks sometimes crazy and sometimes it's not that crazy. Like I had a deliverance in Africa that led me to cry for 3 hours. And that's where I got, after years and years and years of therapy, I got the most freedom from my childhood, like in that 3-hour session. Because I could see Jesus in those moments. And it really changed my heart. And I believe that experience is what changed my life and really set me on fire for God, Awesome. So yeah, there's some real stuff. And I went back to Africa again this year and saw a lot of the same. And yeah, so God still moves powerfully.
Well, why? Well, why Africa? But also, I think about it now. I'm like, I feel like you could say demons manifest themselves plenty in America,
Yeah, they do.
but is it different in Africa, or is it just, and why?
Yeah. So the way it was explained to me, and I kind of recognize this now, just being there versus being here, is like Africa is just, they're deeper in the spiritual realm, right? Where we have gained over, like, let's say the last 100 years of America, where we have grown in capitalism, they've grown in the spiritual realm. Like, they don't have capitalism, right? So they find their hope in that versus we find our hope in business and in money and capitalism, which capitalism isn't bad. But my hypothesis after coming back from Africa in 2024, why I gave up the company was like, all I cared to do was ministry. All I cared to do was test and see, is the stuff I experience in Africa, does that happen in Austin? And I saw it. And, I think, I think it could be like a wild goose chase, right? We can idolize that stuff, right? We can idolize, like, seeing that happen. And I don't think that, is good, or wasn't good for me in its entire capacity. But like Shine City, the homeless outreach was birthed out of me going on the streets by myself and ministering deliverance on people.
It's awesome.
And it became a movement, which is great, cool. But like the heart is like, I just want to see people be on fire for God and be set free.
And when's the next one?
So they're every third Saturday of every month, right? So we just had the last one last Saturday. And then, we'll have one in 3 weeks or so.
And so are you still leading that?
I'm not. Yeah, I actually, so like when I was in Africa this time around in this April, part of what I felt was, navigating with God. It's just like, okay, what's next? And I think a big piece of that was like focus a little bit less on ministry and focus more on business. And so to do that, you have to let go of things that you love and let go of things that you can say, I built, right? But, it's like, it's surrendering the good thing, or even the great thing or the God thing, which is the God thing, right? And, walking with him on what is next, So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've stepped out of leadership. I volunteer there because I love it. It's awesome. And, there's such impact. So,
man, dude, what a journey. That is awesome.
You opened up a can of worms.
I love it. I mean, there's a side of me that I will admit, I absolutely love the lore, of like of Christ, of course, but I love cinema, so I also love the idea of the lore of the Bible. There's so many things that cinematically I can see in my mind's eye where I'm like, man, I would love to shoot that. That would be sick. Like with Isaiah and the seraphim touching the coal. I'm like, someday I'm going to shoot that. And I'm going to do like a TV series or something. I just want to shoot that scene because I can see it in my mind.
Yeah.
And it also is like, why isn't it done more? Like I'm not talking about faith-based films, and not to, I mean, I am kind of throwing a little bit of shade at faith-based films, and, because I just feel like I don't want it to be faith-based because I want it to be good. Like, usually faith-based is just, it's catering to people who already believe.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not what Christ was here to save sinners. So it's like, we are sinners, and that's who I need to serve.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the people that already believe, they already believe.
Yeah.
And you look at the Passion of the Christ. Oh my gosh, man. I've been watching the movie like every 3 months.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie.
It's an incredible movie. And so many people will tell me like, that is too much. And it is a torturous movie to watch.
Yeah.
And it is. And I swear every time, every time he gets to the lashing scene,
Mm.
I'm like, this time I'm not gonna like cry. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And I always, I can't. As many times I've seen it, I'm like, it just touches me so deeply that I'm like, and I'm, for him to, even when he's on the cross, and he's all just bloodied, and
Yeah.
and I think of Christ, and then even after he's like broken every bone, and all the blood is just I mean, dripping down, and he prays for us, of like, they, forgive them, for they do not know what they do.
Yeah.
And he's praying for us in such a terribly weak moment. Like, I mean, how could nobody would be able, after all that torture, to wish good on the person torturing them?
Yeah.
I mean, like, so that line, my God, I learned this thing, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. What comes to mind when you hear that verse, like, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Well, I think even Christ had his, I don't want to say the word doubts, but like, does this have to happen? Like, is this really the way? And I think in that moment, like, why have you forsaken me? Right? Like, why does this need to happen? And I think The Chosen, like, as far as from a cinema perspective, like, the new season actually shows, some of that, like, really, really well. And they haven't gotten to the point where he's on the cross. That's the next season, I believe. But, just some of the wrestling with God, like, why does this have to happen? Is it really your will?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, but
there was, so, like, and you have to double check me on this, but I'm pretty sure, because I've looked at it again and again. The part where when because I always thought that, I thought that as well.
Yeah.
That whenever Christ said that, it was almost like a moment of, why have you left me? And I was like, okay, that always kind of gave me pause. It's like, what is that? But then, as I did more research, he was actually, from what I've studied, he was actually reciting the psalm, reciting a specific psalm, and it was exactly the same words. And it was, my God, why have you forsaken me? It was a psalm from Daniel. And what I've studied is that was more of him proclaiming, that this is complete. We are finished now. And that's when God took him. And I always thought that was like that helped me. I just thought that was kind of a fascinating point, because it's such a pivotal point, that he's actually just kind of like bookending everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't. That's new to me. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, good.
You're teaching me a different perspective.
Nice. Yeah. I thought that was really, really wicked.
Yeah.
Because it changed my perspective on that moment. And it also is like, man, like, what, in terms of, like, prophecy, and because you can get so deep into prophecy, because I think he fulfilled like 114 prophecies or something like that. I don't know the exact number. I know it was like above 100.
Yeah.
And then when you start to read the Old Testament, and then you think Christ, I mean, it's unbelievable. But
yeah.
Dude, well, I mean, it was amazing to have you on. Thank you so much for coming down when it's like late and shit, and I really appreciate you. even especially moving your schedule a little bit for me. That was like, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
I really appreciate that.
It's all good.
Can you tell the people where they can find you, where they can follow you?
Yeah. So Instagram is just the best place. At John Cardis, Cardis. Yeah, I would just love to connect in any way. But yeah, honored to just be on and be a part of what you're building here. I think, your message reaches a different group of people. And I think what I love about the podcast, right, and your heart behind it is it's like Christ really is the infinite leverage, right? Like the more we follow him, the more like everything kind of falls into place the way it should be. And even in the hard times, right, we find hope in him. And I just think it's beautiful that you are also finding your way to blend business and talking about Christ, right? And like we need, many are called, few are chosen, but we need more people, that are willing to like be vocal about what they believe. And you're doing it and you're asking the questions and you're having the conversations. And I'm just honored to be a part of like what you're building here. Like this is the start of something that's going to reach a lot of people and it's going to have a major impact and continue to ripple like far beyond what you could expect, right? People are going to deepen their relationship to God through this, like really understand like how you're wrestling with, as a business owner, how you're working through, like how does Christ, fit into this? And like, how does this question about theology and all that sort of stuff? And you're going to lead people closer to him, which at the end of the day, that is our call. So it's beautiful.
Thank you, man. That was awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That was a way better explanation than I've given of the podcast so far. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to use that. That's amazing. Well, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being on The Leverage and stay tuned for the next one.
See you soon. Sweet, bro.